You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.
Welcome to our show. This is Anna Lanier. I am a family relationship and antidepressant expert. And what we are usually doing is sharing one true secret of life at every show so people can prevent and overcome heartbreak, anxiety, and depression. And today I have a special guest to back up one of our secrets of life. Today's true secret of life is everything is healable, but not the way you expect. So, for backing me up on this one true secret of life, I have today Dan Kraft, a holistic practitioner who specializes in helping people heal from chronic pain. Dan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Anna. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for coming to our show to talk about this one secret of life, that everything is healable, but not the way we expect. So I would like to start, Dan, with your story. How did you ended up to be a holistic practitioner who specializes in helping people heal from chronic pain?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a story. I mean, it had multiple layers, but I mean, I started, I was someone growing up, I had a lot of anxiety. Went through depression in my teen years, and I really fell in love with working out. And when I was 11 years old, I started working out and lifting weights, and that became my escape, and it became obsessed with the body. And then I went through school, became a personal trainer, got my degree in kinesiology, and then 9 months into my personal training career, which was always my dream, I never thought I'd help people in chronic pain, I got into a surfing accident, and I was sitting inside head by a wave and thrown back 20 feet. And from then on, I had chronic headaches, was in chronic pain every day for 19 months. I was misdiagnosed by doctors. Everyone told me it was just concussion, just rest and you'll get better. And so I kept resting and it wasn't getting better. And so just going through that, and I went through as many medical professionals as you can imagine, and no one gave me any help, gave me any insight to why I was struggling with these concussions, why I could no longer drive to work, why even driving 5 miles on the road with a small little bump would cause me to get concussion symptoms, why I couldn't do any sudden movements and that would cause me to get concussion symptoms. So I literally saw how pain could just destroy your life. And mind you, I was only 20. I wasn't even 24 yet. I was 23 years old going through this. I just landed my dream job. I was finally independent. Things were finally going well, and then suddenly this happened, and everything was taken away from me. And so I saw what it was like to be in chronic pain. And when you're going through it, it almost doesn't make sense. How can I just be in excruciating pain every day? How is this possible? And so people thought I was just making it up or psychological or whatever. So it turned out I had a broken neck. I had a fracture in C2 in the dents, and nobody had picked it up. And that's why I was suffering so much. My neck was so unstable that I kept getting concussions just from any minor jarring. And so about a year in, physical therapy failed, but he realized I had a neck instability issue. And so me already being a personal trainer and already being into the body, I went about solving this thinking I just had some instability issue in my neck. And so I invented my own rehab programs, my own exercises, because nothing on the internet was helping me. So I created my own stuff. And then about 6 months into it, about 3 months into it, I struck lightning. I figured out the problem. And then in 3 months, I was completely out of pain. And then so I got myself completely out of pain. Then 3 months later, I finally got MRI. And they discovered that my neck had been broken, but due to my rehab, due to my own exercises, I had healed properly, and my neck was completely normal. And so that that realization is really what drove me into chronic pain, realizing that there were many people suffering like me who were not getting the help that they needed. And so that really inspired my mission, and realized that I did have something special to offer, and that I could use my skills to help other people. And so that's essentially in a nutshell.
And you do. And it's absolutely amazing, right? Because you went to doctors and physical therapists and places where they couldn't find your problem, right? So here you ended up solving it by yourself. I was honestly not that lucky as you were. At the age of 12, they told me that I have an S-shaped scoliosis, and I have to live with it. And I couldn't even sit in a classroom for a whole year. I have to sit in the back of a classroom writing on my lap, because if I would have sit down, I couldn't get up. I just couldn't get up out of pain, right? So here is, I developed fibromyalgia, chronic pain, since the age of 12 for all my life. And because of so much pain, at some point, my vertebrae started to snap. And I have 2 hernias of disc, right? So here is how lucky you were as a personal trainer to be able to design your own exercise that today, by the way, we're going to talk about, you're teaching others how to heal from chronic pain. So not how to manage chronic pain, not how to live with it, but how to heal from it. And how important this is, because it is healable. Maybe the way you don't expect, because you were expecting a doctor to figure it out, right? You were expecting somebody to tell you have to do this, this, this. And guess what? Nobody told you nothing. You had to figure this all by yourself. And a lot of times I have seen that we have to be our own advocates in life. We have to go through our own stuff. And it's hard. Like you were lucky. You got, a grip of this. In 3 months, I suffered from my S-shaped scoliosis and 2 hernias of discs for 26 years. 26 years. Right? Until I got a grip on what's causing it and how to, I still have it. It's still broken. The 2 vertebrae are still broken, but at least they don't hurt anymore. And I figured out how to stop the pain. So how extraordinary is that, we have to go sometimes through pain, and this is what you're doing today, right? So tell me, Dan, what exactly are you doing today thanks to this story of yours?
Yeah, I will say a couple things I want to add to your point. You really have to advocate for yourself. And I didn't really feel like necessarily the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. It was that they weren't willing to try. It was that they were so convinced that it was this, that they just disregarded all my other comments and complaints, like, hey, maybe there's something more. And so today I have a clinic in La Jolla. It's called a Holistic Clinic for Pain and Posture. And we help people who are struggling with chronic pain, struggling with chronic stress, people who just want some body work. And pretty much we're providing them real solutions and that work. And so for me, like, when I help people, it's not just about helping them get out of pain. But that's obviously one of the preliminary goals, but it's also teaching them how their body works so they can stay out of pain. Because like you said, your body can heal, it just maybe not the way you think it will. And a lot of times when people are in pain, there's things that are happening in their body that's preventing the healing from happening. So you have to clear out those roadblocks sometimes in order for your body to start healing and to mitigate the damage being caused, which can sometimes interrupt the healing because there's damage happening faster than the body's healing. And so once we can clear those blocks out and the body can heal naturally, then people get out of pain, and then their lives start to improve. They start to be able to do all the things they want to do. And that's really what it's about, is getting people back to living the type of life that they want to live, that was interrupted by their pain. And so
very true, Dan, because if you are in any kind of pain, in any kind of suffering, you have only one dream: to get out of it. But if you are out of pain, you have a million dreams that you can accomplish, right? But when you are like we were in tremendous amount of pain, man, every day is just another day of pain, of bearing, of suffering, right? So in my depression approach, of getting people out of depression. By the time you get to physical pain, you have two other roadblocks, exactly like you mentioned, to fix. One of them is emotional, and one of them is psychological or mental, right? So in your case, your physical pain was due to an injury. In my case, my physical pain and my S-shaped scoliosis, my two hernias of disc, were due to depression, deep, heavy, and unresolved emotional wounding that gave me, that burden, not only emotional and psychological, but at some point it manifested in my physical body, right? So what are other reasons why people end up in pain besides depression and besides physical injury?
One huge one is stress. Stress is a massive factor when people are really stressed out, because stress essentially is emotional distress. But essentially, stress creates a lot of tension in your body, because when your body is in a stress response, it's essentially in its fight or flight response. Your body desires to fight off the danger or to run away. That's what the stress response is for. But in this modern world, we're not being exposed to physical danger like a bear or a lion. So what happens is we get stressed out over money, we get stressed out over work, we get stressed out over our relationships. And these stressors, especially when compounded over a period of time, when they go on for months, weeks, sometimes years, that takes a toll on the body, because your body essentially only repairs itself when it's most relaxed. Your body repairs itself after you're out of danger. But if you're in a stress response, for months, years, for a long period of time, that will cause a lot of tension in your body. Your body won't be recovering as well. You won't be sleeping as well. And that will eventually lead to pain. So that's one aspect. Another is just lifestyle habits. So many people now, like with their sedentary American lifestyle, they're sitting, 6, 7, 8 hours, 10 hours a day, sometimes more. And that overtime plays a role. And then also the positions you sit in, how much sleep you're getting. If you're not getting sleep, that's going to lead to stress. If you're sleeping in a really bad position, a lot of times, like for example, people sleep on their stomach. You have to turn your neck to one side, and you're having your neck in this prolonged bad position for 8 hours a night. So that's another factor. People sleep on their sides, the pillows not high enough. So those are factors. So there's a lot of lifestyle factors that play a role. Bad movement habits that people are performing exercises incorrectly in the gym, that can play a role. But I'd say the biggest thing really is stress and the lifestyle habits. And those just play the biggest role, because if your body essentially adapts to whatever environment you're in. And so if you're working in bad posture, you're sleeping in bad positions, and you're not really taking care of yourself over time, it's going to lead to your body breaking down. And pain essentially is a warning response from your brain when there is trouble or danger, and it's designed to protect yourself against injury or further injury. And so when your brain's sending pain signals, it's telling you that there's something wrong. And so it's when you feel that pain, it's really a sign that you need to start looking deeper into what's going on. So it usually comes from really just neglecting their basic health fundamentals, and then it eventually can snowball into something much worse.
That's why I call stress and anxiety as symptoms of depression. And I tell people you have encountered this before you ended up with depression. You have encountered them in different ways. When something was hurting you, right? When any kind of organ is hurting you, like for example, in case of fibromyalgia or headaches or, back pain, that is only a sign of you don't feel you can support yourself in the world, that you know how to balance yourself emotionally, that you have all the skills and strategies how to make it out there in life. There is fear of not having emotional support, not having family support, not having financial support. All these are signs, just signs that get you into a depressed mode or get your vertebrae snapping at some point because of how much pain and stress you're into. And yes, it's all interconnected. Depression and anxiety and stress and physical pain, all of them have to have layers and layers of healing. Because if you just heal the physical and you don't feel the emotional, the physical pain is coming back, right? I mean, you have seen this over and over again. When people, they get rid of pain and, then it's happening again. I have seen it to myself, right? So why do you think that people are not healing, Dan?
Why are they not healing? It's multiple factors. One aspect is stress, because when someone's experiencing a lot of stress, then their body's in fight or flight, and your body, essentially your body is two sides of your nervous system. You have your fight or flight, and you have your rest and digest. And so your rest and digest is like when you've just woken up from a deep sleep, like you feel most relaxed. That's when your body repairs itself. And your fight or flight is your stress response, is your survival response. And so a lot of people are more stressed than they realize because of certain life factors, whether it's finances or relationship troubles, trouble with work, and other aspects. And when their body's in survival mode, your body is focused on sending all the energy to your big muscles to use them to survive. Your body repairs itself when it's relaxed. And so if you're in a state of stress for several months or years, then your body is not going to repair itself effectively because you're still in that threat response. So a lot of times, for me, healing people is just getting them relaxed. Is actually getting the nervous system back into a relaxed state. And there's a lot of things that you can do to do that. But getting them there first is often the big step, because then the body's like, okay, we're no longer in danger. Now we can start repairing everything. That's one aspect. Another aspect is alignment. And this also relates to stress, but sometimes, like when you've had poor postures or poor habits, you have joints that are in poor position. Maybe things are grinding, bones are grinding, or cartilage being ground down, your discs are being ground down. And your body can repair any tissue in the body. As long as it's not completely torn, it can repair it. But if there's just a constant grinding and there's damage that's happening faster than the body can heal it, then over time it'll wear it down. That's why people they get the cartilage ground down, they get degenerative disc disease, because the grinding and the damaging is happening faster than the body can heal. And so that's a second aspect that's really crucial that people don't realize. And so a lot of times, like once you get them out of their state, you get them realigned, their body naturally heals. I had a client, he had 2 torn rotator cuffs, and he had a frozen shoulder that's been undiagnosed, and he had a shoulder impingement. And his supraspinatus, his rotator cuff tendon, was hanging on by a few threads. So it was torn about 90%. And the reason that it wasn't healing was because anytime he lifted his arm, the bone in his scapula and shoulder blade would actually pinch those tendons and wear them down. And he was told he needed surgery. And once we started working together, we got the shoulder realigned, and there's no longer the grinding. He started healing naturally. In 4 months, he got complete pain-free, full range of motion in his shoulder. Before he had like half range of motion. No pain, can sleep through the night, can play basketball. And this guy's in his 50s. I had the shoulder injury for 30-plus years. And he's completely normal now. And it's mind-blowing to doctors.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It is amazing because, as we said, a lot of doctors, they just don't have the answers as much as possible. For all the listening, joining in right now, you're listening to Anna Lanier's show, True Secrets of Life. And today's true secret of life is everything is healable, but not the way you expect. This is why I brought in Dan Kraft, a holistic practitioner who helps people heal from chronic pain. Just very simple. Just heal from chronic pain. And I know that the healing from chronic pain looks amazing and looks, unusual and looks like something fantastic. But don't forget that I'm an antidepressant expert, okay? And I heal people from anxiety and depression and heartbreak, right? This is possible, just not the way we expect. So if you haven't had the chance to listen from the beginning of the show, make sure you go to truesecretsoflife.com, where you're going to not only be able to get in touch with Dan Kraft to ask questions about your situation, because I'm sure you know somebody who suffers from chronic pain, but also to listen to this entire show, because it's absolutely amazing, the secrets that he shares, and everybody should know about it. Then, I am a huge fan of Dr. Emoto, who in 1999 made some water experiments, just very simple water experiments, where he took different water particles and he just, one of the experiments was like subjecting these water particles to environmental problems, issues, Other ones would be just talking bad to water, right? While the other part of the experiment was, putting the waters subjected to good environmental conditions and then talking good to water. And he has noticed that when the water was frozen, if you haven't heard about it, guys, Dr. Masaru Emoto, he's Japanese. When the water got frozen, where the particle got frozen, you could see that the ones that you spoke bad about, okay, they were ugly. And the one you spoke good about, they were beautiful. And this is how our emotions can influence water. Well, guess what? In human body, we are 63% water. And in human brain and human heart, we are 73% water. So imagine how emotions and deep emotions can, help us or hurt us if we are not careful. And also, you have mentioned, Dan, something, amazing. When you are having this kind of injury where you are just, torn apart, okay, and at least it's not broken totally yet, like my 2 hernias of this, which already snapped, okay, nothing can be done about it. They're already inches away, probably, or millimeters, or whatever it is, right? But as long as they're not snapped yet, as long as there is no cut yet, as long as they can communicate with each other, there is a way to heal them. Right? Sometimes even rest. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, and, sometimes, people do ask, like, how do I heal? And the answer is healing is innate. Your body is designed to heal. When you get a cut, your body heals it. It's not something that you have to tell your body to do. It does it automatically. And so when people aren't healing, it's usually because there's some sort of roadblock there that's preventing it from happening, whether they're just in a ton of stress or they're structurally, like I said, there's grinding before, and so their body's trying to heal, but because of the structure and the things that are rubbing together, the damage is happening faster than it can heal, but your body naturally wants to heal. That's what it's designed to do. It's just sometimes people have roadblocks, and that's where it becomes tricky because they have to figure out what are those roadblocks. And so, but once you can figure those out, and for me, like, for example, when I was doing my broken neck, my roadblock was actually my anxiety. I had really bad TMJ, which is like, it's called temporomandibular joint disorder. And that's like when your jaw pops and your jaw connects to the back of the neck. It was actually pulling on the fractured bone. And that's why I was having trouble healing. And so I actually had to find a way to reduce my anxiety drastically and to fix my TMJ in order for my neck to heal. And once I did that and I realigned it, then the body healed it naturally. And so it's about finding out what those roadblocks are. And so healing, like I said, we talked about before, body can heal, just may not the way you think it will. It's that sometimes there's a lot more work needed to really facilitate the healing process and to remove those roadblocks so things function normally again. Because when people get injured, a lot of times there's underlying dysfunction that's been there. And then it's like when they get injured, it's like the straw that broke the camel's back, and so they have to put everything back together. So it's just to be a little bit more extensive sometimes in order to put all the factors in order so the body can naturally heal, but it's 100% possible.
Exactly. And it's very interesting that at some point you have mentioned, doctors that send you to surgery. And I remember my doctor was sending me to hernias of disc surgery every time when I was in her office. I mean, I'm not joking. And I didn't even ask for painkillers or anything like that because I was just grinning and bearing it because I knew the painkillers are just going to destroy my liver some more. It's nothing going to do to, my hernias of disc. And it's not like I can, put them back together or stuff like that. And she all the time is like, oh my God, you're in so much pain. Oh my God, you're in so much pain. Go to surgery, go to surgery. And I actually researched the subject of hernias of disc surgery just to find out that, guess what? 50% of the patients might never walk and might end up in a wheelchair or might end up worse than when you stepped through that door, that surgery door, right?
I have a client horror story. I had a client, she had a disc herniation, and she was told to get it fused. She went to get it fused, and she still had pain after the surgery. And it was still just as bad as it was before the surgery. And so they did an MRI, and they realized they had fused the wrong disc.
Okay. They fused the wrong disc.
They fused the wrong disc.
Oh,
and so
my God.
Yeah. And so they did a survey. There was like an anonymous survey with, I think it was like 50 like spinal surgeons. And they asked them if you had back issues, would you get a spinal surgery? And unanimously, they answered no.
I have to be honest. Yeah, I have to be honest with you. I had a job before I was doing what I do today. I was a limo driver in Chicagoland area, and I had a job where I actually drove nurses who are working for surgeons, trained to be back surgeons and everything else. And I was talking to them about this, like, I don't know if I should do this or not. And they said, no, as long as you can walk, never do this. We have patients who do this 25 times. Every time they're worse than they were before. I don't even know why they do this. Don't they figure it out they are worse than they were before? I can't tell them because I work for the doctor, but as an idea, I see them every day. Don't let anybody touch your back. Whatever you do, do not let anybody touch your back.
Yeah, and the problem is it's so ingrained in our society that if you have a problem, then drugs and surgery is the answer. And the surgery is perceived as like end-all be-all. It's like if nothing else works, you just cut it out, or you just alter it. And then
yeah, but for a tumor it works, not for the back.
Yeah, so sometimes remember that same client who had those 2 spinal fusions. After that second fusion, she started having pain again, a really bad sciatica. And it turned out a ganglion cyst had formed inside her spine and was pushing on the nerves. And a ganglion cyst is essentially it's a protective bubble your body pretty much creates when there's damage to an area. And usually it's more superficial, can happen on the skin, and it's a normal protective response. But because they had worked inside her spine and done some damage inside, the body had formed a ganglion cyst right by her spinal cord and was pressing on her sciatic nerve.
And guess what? That was nobody's fault. So here it is, surgery again. Sorry.
Yeah.
Guys, if you are dealing with these kind of problems, okay, like chronic pain, like you're thinking about going into surgery, take a minute of your life, okay, and call, somebody to find a different opinion before you get into that road. Take a minute, take 5 minutes of your life, right? And ask for a second opinion. And you know something? You will be shocked of the answers that you do receive. And I am glad today that I haven't been to that surgery, because if I would have done it, I would have might ended up in a wheelchair. My son was like 5 years old when I was thinking to go to surgery. Just imagine a 5-year-old child wheeling his mother in and out of a house. And guess what? All I had to do is overcome depression, and there is no more pain in my body, and I can climb a mountain in Capri in like 4 hours by myself in high heels. That's what I did after I overcame depression. It was one of my dreams. So please make sure that before you go to that knife, okay, and I'm not saying that the doctor is wrong or they make mistakes or something like that. That happens too. But before we go to that knife, Okay, we are asking for different opinions. Maybe you don't believe that it's healable in a different way. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. Go and ask for a different opinion. Very simple. We will have a
I want
break
to add one.
in about a minute. Go ahead, Dan. We have a minute.
I want to add one thing. I think a lot of times the reason people do surgery, sometimes even though they don't want to, is because they don't know where to look. Because people are so used to the traditional, practitioners.
That is true. That is true.
PT
So
doctors.
let's get back
So I
on
feel-
people
I
don't
want-
know how to look in just a couple of seconds as we are going to a short break. And that's a great start. Where do people look?
Yeah.
Welcome to GoingSoloTravelers.com. Going Solo Travelers is about connecting, making new friends, exploring, and enjoying new fun times together. Laughter and the excitement of seeing and exploring something new creates memories that will last forever. Come join us on GoingSoloTravelers.com.
What are the secrets to a happy and successful life? Well, Anna Lanier, family relationship and antidepressant expert, will share with you true secrets of life to help you overcome heartbreak, anxiety, and depression, and to live a life that you deserve and desire. Her philosophy is simple: master the game of life so you'll never be trapped in pain or hurt again. Anna can be heard nationwide on the True Secrets of Life radio show on the My Genre Radio Network at 8 a.m. and again at 3 p.m. To listen to her show, go to TrueSecretsOfLife.com.
Welcome back to True Secrets of Life radio show with Anna Lanier, relationship expert and antidepressant expert. We are here today with Dan Kraft, talking about one secret of life. Everything is healable, but not the way you expect. And Dan Kraft is a holistic practitioner who specializes in helping people heal from chronic pain. And I understand that the word heal is going to just click. Some people said, what? What? That's not possible. I have to grin and bear it for the rest of my life. That's what we all thought. That's what Dan fought until he couldn't take it anymore. That's what I fought for 26 years of my life until I couldn't take it anymore. That's why we all fought. And if you haven't listened to the first part of our show, please make sure you go to TrueSecretsOfLife.com, where the show will be there, the entire show, and you can get in touch with Dan Kraft, because I just interrupted him because I wanted more of what he has to say. People don't know where to look. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, and that I think that's the hardest part sometimes, is not knowing where to look and just being surrounded by the sort of like traditional practitioners. And Healable, basically a network for people in the wellness and holistic space. And there's a lot of practitioners from different cities, so that's one place that you can look if you've never gone that route. I think it's definitely worth a look, because once again, your body is designed to do everything naturally. Your body is designed to heal. It's designed to take care of and regulate all its functions. And so when it's not, it means that there's something happening inside your body that's preventing from doing so, whether it's stress, whether it could be emotional trauma, or whether it's some other aspect with misalignment. There's something going on. And if you can tap into the body and figure out what is going on and what the problem is, then you can solve it. My philosophy is that anything that happens within the body can be resolved within the body. If you weren't born with it, that means it happened somewhere along the way. And so if you can figure out exactly what that is, then you can figure out how to heal it. So heal.me is a good one. Also, I mean, we're going to give out information at the end. You're welcome to contact me or Anna. Our network is very vast and very diverse. We know a lot of different practitioners in a lot of different places. So we
still have 25 minutes to talk to everybody about what you have mentioned, because that's extraordinary. If you were not born with it, okay, and in your case, Dan, you had an injury, right, and you have noticed the changes especially after your injury. And this is because you were a personal trainer, you knew how to track this thing. If it would have happened to me, honey, I would never figure it out in the next 10 years. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the expertise. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why, we're here, is that, it's tough if you don't have the expertise. I was fortunate that I was already really passionate about the body. I was already very into corrective exercise. And so that allowed it. When I realized with my neck, I was like, okay, this is kind of in my wheelhouse. I can figure this out. But a lot of people don't. And so,
exactly.
Yeah.
And for
100%.
me, I had to learn about it, right? So when my vertebrae snapped, L4 and L5, I had to learn about the meaning of these vertebrae. And what do they mean, right? So L5 is connected to you are not being supported by your family. Nobody understands you. Well, this vertebra snapped with L4 3 years after my mom died. She was the last person in my family. So I was all by myself in the entire world. I didn't have a kid yet, right? So how interesting that 3 years into that pain, this vertebra snapped. L4 is connected to loss and tragedy and the fact that you believe that expressing strong emotion, it's not okay. So these two vertebrae for me snapped 3 years after I lost my mom. Now, I was looking to see if other ones snap, because there are 3 more left, for goodness sake, right? We have L3 that has to do with digestion of all level, your belief system. And I have clients that are depressed, and they tell me that there is something wrong with L3. I know is like, oh, you cannot digest the choices you make in life. There are some choices that you made in your life that you cannot take, that you made them, but you can swallow them. You made them from a mind position and not from a heart position. Or other ones that are coming with L2 problems, that's the physical capacity to support yourself and how flexible you are backward or inward. This one, I think it's also affected to me because I can't go backwards, maybe because of my S-shaped scoliosis, or maybe because this is affected. But how interesting this has to do with flexibility. And L1 is only linked to stability, to changes that you make in life, to career, to your emotional changes, to your divorce changes, to your stability in every way, shape, or form. So all of these vertebrae from L1 to L5, they all have a meaning. And as somebody comes to me and said, I have this problem, I said, which vertebra is it on the lower back? And this is exactly how I pinpoint their emotional problems and their mental blocks, because the mental blocks are the same. Like, life is hard. I have to work hard for my money. I need strict rules to guide me in life because otherwise I can't make it. I have to put myself in a bubble, right, to protect myself from everything and everybody. And a lot of times we just, can't go away like this in the protection mode, in the I'm afraid mode all the time. So this is how along the way, exactly like you mentioned, Dan, along the way, we broke ourselves. Very simple. Because if you were born healthy like I was, I succeeded, to break myself with my depression since the age of 12. Very simple. And not only that I broke myself, I suffered a lot from it, right? But as I said, today's true secret of life is everything is healable, but not the way we expect. And you're right, Dan. First of all, we're not looking in the right place. Like I was looking to see how I can fix my back, but I was not looking to see that I was emotionally and mentally broken. And that, broke my back. Very simple. But you have... go ahead, Dan.
I was going to say, the symptoms are often, the root cause is often different than the symptoms. And so when you experience a problem, a lot of times you'll experience in a certain place or experience on a physical level when the undertones of what's actually causing it is much deeper. And so the physical is kind of like the weak link that breaks down, and
And if
certainly
you don't track the cause, you are just fixing it temporarily.
that too. And the hardest thing is spotting the root cause. And this is why, like, when you go to a doctor or you tell them your symptoms, like they just focus on treating the symptom, whether it's with medication or recommending surgery for your back issue. They're addressing the symptom, and they're not looking into how the body actually works and what could actually be the cause. And certainly, I'll go a little bit in the emotional aspect. Certainly emotional distress, I say stress is really just emotional distress, has a huge impact because your emotions are all really just aspects of your nervous system. And they arise based on how your brain and how you interpret certain situations. And so if you're experiencing a lot of stress or you've experienced, emotional trauma in the past, you feel like you can't support yourself, then that is going to lead to physical effects because your emotions are really very tied to your breath, to your breathing. Your diaphragm is tied directly into your deep core. It's actually part of your deep core. Your deep core supports your spine. And so if you have a lot of repressed emotions, you feel like you can't support yourself, that's going to lead to your breathing not being good. You're not going to be able to inhale effectively. That's going to lead to your spine becoming unstable and then becoming misaligned, and then eventually can lead to breakdowns and pain. So there's deep connections. And unfortunately, with the way the medical system is, the doctors are not taught about these deep connections and how deep it actually goes, how everything is really connected and related. And so that's why, unfortunately, at this point, though it's becoming more and more, there's specific practitioners who are just incredible, who understand this. There are many who do not. And so you have to find one of those exceptional practitioners. And
you are one of them. You are one of them, Dan, right? Because, I always say that, like, for example, everybody said depression, and like everybody understands mental illness, and I understand deep pressure. Deep pressure, emotionally, mentally, and physically. Just deep pressure. And I think in the same word, depression, it also shows us how to fix it. Depressurize everything. Right? Depressurize the stress in your life. Depressurize your anxiety, right? Deep negative emotions that hurt us from the inside. They practically kill us from the inside.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And what's also interesting is that I noticed this even early in my career, like even when I was still working as a personal trainer, that the people who were the most confident, most secure, always had the least problems with their bodies.
Yeah, happy people are healthy people.
Yeah, 100%.
And
secure people are healthy.
Exactly, and how is that possible, right? And everybody that's not happy, they have a tremendous amount of problem, and they pile up problems, right? Number one and number two and number three, and keeps on piling.
Yeah, and life is an interesting thing where the worse you are, like the more things will go wrong. Like the worse place you are emotionally, mentally, the more physical things will go wrong too, and just the more things will go wrong. But the happier you are, the better things will go. So there's this weird thing where, unfortunately, things do kind of pile on. And so if you're really happy and you're in a great place, then the good things keep piling on. But when you're unhappy and in a darker place, then things keep piling on as well. And so, unfortunately, sometimes you can't control, where you're born and where you end up. But if you can get yourself out of that place and into the good side, things just keep getting better and better. And so I've seen that before because I've been depressed too. And certainly when I was going through, my broken neck, there were times where I was thinking like, maybe I should end this. Like maybe I should just like call it and just give up. And but I didn't. And now my neck's better than it's ever been. My life's better than it's ever been. And now I continue to see the blessings add up. But I've been in times where it seemed like just the negative stuff just kept piling on and piling on. So it's very interesting. But once you get yourself out of those darker places, things just get better and better. It's weird how it works, but it's incredible too.
Why I'm super, super happy that you're here with us talking about this chronic pain, possible healing solutions, right? Because this is why we're here. For the listeners that are just joining in, you are listening to True Secrets of Life with Anna Lanier. And today's True Secret of Life is everything is healable, but not the way you expect. And we are here today with Dan Kraft, a holistic practitioner who specializes in helping people heal from chronic pain. And I understand that the word heal is not sitting with too many people. But if you can heal from depression and anxiety like I do, yes, you can heal from chronic pain too, but not the way you expect. And if you haven't listened to the show until now, we still have another 15 minutes to go, but you can go to truesecretsoflife.com and listen to the entire show, because in the first part of the show, Dan gave us some golden nuggets about what it is possible to heal from chronic pain. And Dan, I have to be honest with you. You have a few success stories. Which one would you like to mention? Because I want to mention my own success story too. Go ahead, Dan.
There's so many. I had a quick. I'll tell you two. One will be really quick.
Okay.
I had a client. This was about a year and a half ago. He came to me with sciatica issues and back pain. He had scoliosis too. He had scoliosis his whole life, and he was told, like many others, that he can't heal from scoliosis. and in 10 sessions, we got his spine completely straight, and his back pain was gone. He was debilitated for a year. This is a guy in his 20s. This isn't like this is a guy in his 20s. And in 10 sessions, we were able to get his spine completely straight. And because scoliosis, what it really is, it just means that your spine is laterally bent. It's no different than having a hunchback or having reduced curvature. It's just a lateral bend. And there's muscles that cause those lateral bends. The obliques play a role. There's usually a rotation in there with it. So there's certain muscles, the QL, the other muscles that play a role in that bend. And so when you just balance everything out, which we did, usually meant one side was weaker than the other, we short up those weaknesses to balance things out. And then scoliosis went completely straight. So,
where have you been all my life? This is how I feel like saying right now. Because I suffer from scoliosis, S-shaped scoliosis, the age of 12.
Well,
I know you're younger than me, so where you've been all my life, it doesn't work like that. Okay.
I've just been waiting for you to visit me in San Diego.
Yeah, visiting San Diego, where you have a clinic. It's where in San Diego is, right? The clinic that you have?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for everybody that wants to get in touch with Dan, he can also answer calls, okay? So he do a couple of tips for you virtually too. Not only you have to go to San Diego right now, okay, to talk to him. You will have a chance to do this on our website, truesecretsoflife.com, where we will have a contact information for Dan, because I don't want anybody out there that is hearing this to suffer from any kind of pain, to continue to suffer from it, because it's healable. And yeah, the story that I wanted to mention was about scoliosis, Dan, right? Because I had an S-shaped scoliosis, and they told me that there is nothing they can do about it. And maybe 30-something years ago, they couldn't do anything about it. I don't know what to tell you. But the most amazing thing is that scoliosis S-shape, it meant emotionally that I do not know where to look for my answers. My answers were, I was suicidal at the age of 19, and I was depressed since the age of 12, and my mom was an alcoholic, and I was very educated, looking for solutions in books, and I studied psychology at the university level, and all of these, but I did not know where to find my answers, right, that I have found at the age of 38, and this is what I do today. I get people and teenagers out of depression. But that S-shaped scoliosis meant that I am looking for the answers in any way, shape, or form. I'm willing to bend over for the answers, but I cannot find it. Well, it was super funny because around the age of 12, my son got, he complained from back pain, and he got diagnosed with scoliosis. Oh my God. You should see as a mother how I felt in that moment, knowing that this led to 2 hernias of disc and the chronic pain that I've had. I was ready to just like get on a wall somewhere, right? Of desperation is like, oh my God, is this genetic? Did I bring this to my kid? Oh my goodness. So we went to the first doctor. The scoliosis was 1 degree. So it was 1 degree of scoliosis. If it wouldn't have been that 1 degree, the spinal cord would have been normal. I'm like, yes, I caught it early. Yes, 1 degree. We can fix it. Yes, it's 1 degree. Yeah. Right? So I went to the first doctor who tells me, like, he probably has a shorter leg. It's okay. There is nothing we need to do. I'm like, okay, do you want to measure him to see if he has a shorter leg? Do you want to do something for it? Some kind of exercise? No, he's going to be fine. But what if this scoliosis gets worse? And he's like, it's probably going to get worse. Oh, well, he's just going to have some back pain during his lifetime. I'm like, you're joking? I want to kill you right now. Do you know what I've been through? I mean, it's just like, wow, no way. So I went and researched on my own. I did not meet you at that time, Dan. I went on researching on my own, and I started calling, I think, 1,000,000 places until I found somebody that actually measured the kid. And guess what? He has a shorter leg. And the solution for now, until he grows up bigger, was one lift in his shoe. One simple lift in his shoe of 9 millimeters. There is no more scoliosis, and his back is straight. How about that, Dan? How about that solution?
Simple solutions.
Simple.
Most people actually have some degree of scoliosis because usually their hips are uneven. They're laterally one hip's high, one side of the hip's higher than the other. Most people have a little bit of scoliosis, a couple degrees. They just don't realize it because the scoliosis is literally just a lateral bend in the spine. It's just some people develop it significantly can develop it at a younger age, but there's ways around it. There's ways to solve problems naturally, and that's really the key point here is that there are ways. The problem is that people are just not shown the ways, and
they're
and
not
them
shown
being not
the ways
experts themselves, that they just defer to the professionals, and so that's really what it is. And I have a really crazy story. You want to hear like a really crazy story?
Go ahead. I want to hear crazy. More crazy than me. There is somebody more crazy than me. Yes, go.
This is the craziest miracle story I've ever been part of. So this was like right before COVID. This is like January 2020. I was doing an event in a WeWork, and I met this woman. Her name was Rebecca, and she was a former semi-pro soccer player who had to quit because she developed a tumor in her brain, the back of her brain, that prevented her cerebral spinal fluid from draining, and it led to her getting a condition called hydrocephalus, which is where the cerebral spinal fluid in the brain cannot drain, where it builds up in the head and just creates this internalized pressure that can be incredibly painful. And I don't know if you've ever seen like medical shows where the person that's extreme pressure, they drill a hole in the skull and the fluid shoots out.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, God.
She had to get one of those operations. And so she was a semi-pro soccer player. She'd been out for 6 years and pretty much told that she could never play soccer. She'd probably never be able to play soccer again. She would get dizzy from exercise, so all she could really do was just walk normally, but she couldn't really exert herself or do much. And so she was told, years ago that that's all that she could do. And if you Google hydrocephalus, it says it's a lifelong condition. That's what Google will tell you.
God.
And so we connect and we start talking about working together because she has some herniations in her low back and she has a couple herniations in her neck. And so what I told her, I was like, I don't know if I can do much about the hydrocephalus, but at the very least, I can handle the herniations. And so we start working together. And so we do. So we start doing sessions together. And so it was like the first session. And so I remembered back I took a workshop with a guy named Dr. Perry Nicholson. And his company is called Stop Chasing Pain. That's actually another great resource. And so we did a workshop on the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is your body's immune system and detoxing system. And so your lymphatic system drains from the brain, from the muscles, from different parts of the body, and cleanses it. And so your body can detox, and it helps with the immune system response for bacteria and viruses. And so I learned that the cerebral spinal fluid in the brain, usually it drains through the back of the head, through the spine, but also part of it drains through the lymph nodes and the lymph channels in the front of the neck. And when someone has cancer, because she had a benign tumor that was still there, usually there's immune system issues, there's lymphatic issues associated with that. And so I started thinking to myself, maybe if I can drain the lymph in her face and her neck, maybe that'll help the cerebral spinal fluid drain. Maybe it'll help alleviate her symptoms a little bit. And so I do a lymphatic release in her first session. And after we do it, she gets up, she's like, I'm dizzy. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then she texts me like a couple hours later, like this is like in the evening, it's like 9 p.m. She's like, I'm really dizzy. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh crap, like
you did something wrong, right?
Yeah, oh no, and I had just taken this workshop, so I was just getting familiar with it. And so I was like, oh man, like did we mess up? And so didn't sleep very well that night. Text the next morning, hey, how are you? How are you feeling? She didn't respond for 2 hours. I'll tell you, those 2 hours were just like holding my breath. And then finally she texted me, she's like, yeah, like I'm feeling normal. I'm like, okay. Whew. We do a session the next day. And so in that first session, we had her doing some low back exercise where she's like raising her legs. She's holding onto the table and raising her legs up. She only was able to do 3 reps before she got dizzy. And that's how bad her hydrocephalus was.
You got to shorten the story because we have 1 more minute, Dan. Go.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, she got dizzy after 3 reps. The second session we did after the drainage, she did all 12 reps with no issues.
Wow.
And we're just confused. And then within 2 weeks, she's back at the gym. She's able to exert herself at 50% intensity. She hadn't been able to work out at all. And so we're just confused. And then COVID happened. We became disconnected. And then I check in with her a year later. See her on her story. She's back running. She's like running with her dog. She moved back to Pittsburgh. She's away from me. And then like 6 months later, I saw a video on her story. She was back to playing soccer. She is now able to play soccer. She's able to live her full life. Her hydrocephalus is apparently gone. The doctors are mystified.
Everything
as to
is
why
linked.
That is.
Everything is linked. This is why that is.
Yeah.
Everything is linked. Guys, we're at the end of our show because we can talk to Dan Kraft, holistic practitioner who specializes in helping people heal from chronic pain for another 3 hours, but that's not going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
So for the ones that need more information, please make sure you go to truesecretsoflife.com and you get in touch with Dan. Look for a second opinion before you are going to the road of painkillers and surgery. And thank you, Dan, for coming up today and giving us the golden nuggets we need about healing physical pain. Thank you.
You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.